I just want to get out of here.
Hello and welcome to Suddenly Single. I've got with me today the lovely Jan Leeming. She's back. She was our runaway train on YouTube. 57,000 of you were watching her and she admitted she'd not had a date. So we've got her back in to talk about her first date in 10 years, her potential second date, and how do we think that's going to go?
Well, put it this way. It's very interesting, especially because it's a dating agency who's done the matching.
So the moral of the story is it's never too late. Hello and welcome to Suddenly Single. As you can see, it's just me this week. We have no Tim, he's away. But we do have back with us our runaway train, our biggest success on Suddenly Single, Jan Leeming.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful, but I just wonder if people thought she's made so many mistakes. Perhaps we'll learn from her mistakes.
Yes, because remind us how many marriages you had, Miss Jan?
Well, 5, but I'll only admit to 3. 3 I loved. First was an absolute mistake, very young. It was a mistake. I mean, 6 months I walked out. And the last one was a rebound because the love of my life had left me. So the 3 in the middle I did love.
Yeah. I mean, I've only had one, so I can't really comment. But I do agree with you on the rebound. I think a lot of us do get into relationships on a rebound, whether we marry them or not.
That was so rebound.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on Prozac counselling and I just didn't know him.
So after that 5th marriage,
Oh, stop it.
Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah, without the diamonds.
How did you then have a break from men? Because I know when you came in last time, you said, apart from your phone call from Omar Sharif, which we will revisit, that you had decided that you were giving up now.
Yes, I mean, I had several years on my own, and they were difficult years, financially and every other way. I mean, really, really difficult. Couldn't get back to the area where I had lived, and it all went quiet. And then I was lonely, and one evening, I'd had a very minor procedure, so I was a bit sort of dopey. And it was about 15, 16 years ago when internet dating, especially for older women and men, was, you don't talk about it. But I thought, and I signed up for the Daily Telegraph Kindred Spirits because you want somebody, you don't have to agree over everything, but I didn't want a rampant lefty.
Okay, yeah.
I just wanted somebody, that I could sort of discuss politics with. And that didn't really work. I mean, I have tried a lot of had tried a lot. Anyway, I gave up. And there was one very nasty experience. This chap turned out to be a narcissist. I won't go into all the details, but he got quite threatening. And I pulled out, and that was it. And that was 9, 10 years ago. And I was beginning to get used to being single. And I have a lot of gay friends who will accompany me.
Yeah.
And I thought, to hell with it. And then you asked me on.
I did.
It's your
I
fault.
did. It's all my fault.
Yeah.
So what we did was we set Miss Jan Leeming up on a date, or we didn't. We asked an agency to set her up on the date. So we brought her back in to find out how the date went.
Extremely well.
Extremely well.
Yes. A dating agency, you pay.
Yeah.
Now, I did 10 years ago. I mean, I was feeling terribly, terribly miserable. And more or less all my life, I'd had a male companion. And I was going to raid my savings. And there was a very heavily advertised, lovely-looking dating agency. It was very expensive. And I would have had to have raided a nicer. I think it was about £10,000. But it had a cut-off for women of 65. Right. And by then I was 70. So I thought, well, they'll all be like that. And I just thought, to hell with it. That's a sign from above. However, this agency is lovely because they obviously don't have an age limit. And they do all the hard work. Mm-hmm. They really do. And obviously, at my age, I'm not going to get a million, likes. But I have been on one date. We had a lot in common because what they do, they send you a sheet of, what they like, family, background, etc. And then if you like what you see, so, they're monitoring. You're safe. And then if you like what you see, you say yes, and you get a phone call. I had to ask for the full name because I don't pick up non-ID, and of course it would have gone in the bin. And we talked for an hour and a half. We had an awful lot in common. He rang again the next night, another hour, rang again the next night. We had a lot in common. We met, and I looked and I thought, I don't know. Oh, he was such an engaging conversationalist. He had me laughing, and that's very important. Massive. Very, very important. And then the agency sent me the details of another gentleman, all over 80, who also was physically fit, and again, lots of things in common. And I said, but I can't sort of see two at once. And they said, yes, you can. You keep your options open. So I will be meeting another gentleman.
And do you tell both I'm just curious as to how it works. Do you tell both gentlemen I actually have had a date with someone else that I'm going to see again?
I haven't asked them about that.
Oh, okay.
But
we will ask them. We'll find out.
I'm a very honest person.
Yeah.
And I know that the one I have had lunch with has had lots of dates. He told me about one or two. Disastrous. So, yes, he's played the field. But, Siobhan, you won't believe this. I've never played the field. I've always been, serially monogamous.
Yes.
I've never, ever. I think the young these days do, but I never did. When I've had the next phone call, and if we meet, which possibly we will, I'll find a way of being upfront. Well, yes, it's not exclusivity. And nobody's asking for marriage.
That's another question. Would you ever remarry, Miss
Six? Never say never. I would. Actually, Jonathan's father, who sadly is now dead, he said, oh, go on. He said, make it a baker's half dozen.
Well, why not? I mean, really, you're at 5.
And I still wear Jonathan's father's wedding.
I think the dad that gave you the child is always a special one because you're connected for life.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, very much so. I don't want 24/7, and I don't think that this gentleman I met wants 24/7. I don't know. I mean, we talked about so many things, and we laughed, and he was very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I think the other one is going to be equally. So I don't know. I mean, I might at this vast, advanced age suddenly have to, oh, wow.
So did you tell me that he's over 80 and he runs marathons, or did I make that up?
No, you didn't make it up.
Okay.
He's run many, many marathons and done a hell of a lot of good work for disabled people.
Oh.
I won't go into it because it wouldn't be fair, but I was very impressed. When the founder of the agency said, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I'm not really looking, but please, I don't want somebody who hasn't looked after themselves.
Okay.
And this person has, and the one I hope I will meet within the next fortnight also has, because I have.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but people who've let themselves go, to me that's a lack of discipline.
I'm glad the date went well.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yes.
The only difficulty is, if it's someone in your area, on a first date, I expect a man to pay. And then I will reciprocate. Mm-hmm. I will either offer, to take them out, or if I like them enough and I feel safe enough, I'll invite them home, usually with friends, because I'm not a bad cook, but I like to reciprocate. But if a man on a first date expected me to go halves, that would be an absolute no-no.
Halves is a funny one, but I have often paid the bill just to get out of there. Seriously, I have, because can I just have the bill, please? I'm off.
Right.
No,
because so many of mine were only coffee dates, which if
If they can't buy you a coffee.
Yeah. And then one or two, it went into lunch, but it was always in a coffee shop. So, you know, but I try to be fair.
Yeah.
I've never been spoilt.
Well, has anyone ever asked you to split the bill then? Or waited for you to pick it up? They haven't. So that's good. That's good. That's gentlemanly manners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like old-fashioned manners.
An older gentleman stands on the outside of the
Yes,
pavement.
I was going to say that.
Opens the doors.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm old-fashioned. My son does it because he
But
was
you're
brought
not
up doing it.
old-fashioned. I just think it's good manners. I notice if a man doesn't walk on the outside. Because you think...
But
really?
you know, really, we have emasculated a lot of men in that I think many of them don't really know where they stand anymore. I've actually seen women where a man opens a door and it's, I can't remember the words, but I'm perfectly capable of opening.
Do you know what? If Tim was here, he'd back this up because we've had
Yes.
this thing. He said, I don't know whether to offer my seat or whether she's going to go mad. And I'm like, what do you mean go mad? I said, if you offer me your seat,
Yes,
I'd
I'd
definitely
take it
take it. I'm
willingly.
there.
Willingly.
And he said, some girls can say, what do you mean? Why do you think I need a seat?
Yes, I know.
I mean, I don't know. We're our own worst enemies, ladies. That's
Yes.
all I'm going to say.
Yes, we are.
So, shall we bring in the expert from the agency that you
Yes.
went on a date?
Yeah, I'm coming up.
We have with us today Rebecca Kuhn. We're going to call her the matchmaker from Sarah Eden.
Yes.
Now, can you tell me why the name Sarah Eden?
Well, I think Jan.
Or Jan
can-
wants to tell me.
Well, actually, when I asked, because, you know, years of interviewing, I'm curious. And it's lovely. Sarah means princess and Eden, the Garden of Eden. So it's a princess walking in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh, and how long has the Sarah Eden been going?
Yeah, so Sarah Eden's been going for 36 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
So very
amazing.
successful. You've been to
Yes.
lots of weddings.
Loads of weddings.
Do I need to get a
Yes.
hat for this Leeming? Do I need to get a hat and shoes?
I know you should never say never, but never. unless, you know, for inheritance. Unless I couldn't live with somebody again. I've got too used to my routine.
Okay.
Okay.
But you know, I want
yeah.
if
Companionship, though.
companionship, and I'd
part-time.
like to keep the romanticism alive.
Yeah.
And you don't have that
Yes.
when you're washing socks and ironing shirts. And actually, my date said, I iron my own shirts. And I said, well, I'm very glad because I won't iron them.
One of the questions that I want to ask you,
Yes.
because this dating show is
Yes.
aimed at people over 50
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
main. And as you get older, I mean, I do go on dating apps, I'll be honest with you. But first of all, you get, I wouldn't say the words paranoid, but you get more and more, are you telling the truth?
Yes.
Is that you? You become more and more jaded.
Yeah.
To join an agency,
Yeah.
what, I mean, it's not a cheap thing to do.
No,
Do you mind
no.
telling me the cost
Yeah,
of joining
no,
the agency?
Of course, yeah. So it's 6,500
Right.
for the year.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is the plus of doing that? Because
Yeah.
obviously it's worked for Jan because she'd given up before we
I had.
Yeah.
I know. I think there's so many advantages, I think, to paying that amount of money as well. I think
And it rolls over
very
if
yeah, it rolls over. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, for example, there are so many people that, you know, they've had to freeze their membership. So something happens, I don't know, a traumatic event happens in their family, or they just want to leave and come back to us. So a lot of people have frozen their membership for 6 months. So they're not with us. So they join and then they go away for 6 months and they can come back again.
So when you say
Yeah.
freeze, could it be like,
Yes.
say, for example, if Jan decides one of these 2 dates that she's going on,
Yes.
she would like to see him for a while and see where
Yeah.
that goes.
Yes.
She's still entitled to the 8 dates.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
it
So
8
she
or
could
5?
come back.
Five.
Oh, five.
Five dates,
She,
yes.
she could still come back and say,
Yeah, of course.
so that hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
And you will do the same. And what's the difference in the
Yes.
homework? Because, I mean, Tim and I, who's not here today, we've discussed it till we're blue in the face.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if they're telling the truth. They put up pictures that don't, you know, they're 10
Yeah.
years old or what have you.
Yeah.
But you do all that homework for them.
We do everything. So we meet everybody that's on our book.
You physically meet them.
Physically. So you come into the office, we chat
Right.
to you. Sometimes I'm chatting to people for, 2 hours, 3 hours in the office. I find out everything about you, obviously what you would like to share with us. A lot of people have been married before. We have a lot of widows as well on the books. So we find out a lot about you. We do ID checks as well, so we'll check your passport.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, driving licence, utility bill, so we can see that the names are matching up. You know, and that everybody is who they say they
Is
are.
she really Jan Leeming?
Yeah. Jan is different. Jan's different. We know who Jan is. But yeah, and I think you just get an instinct for people as well. There's, you know, sometimes, not a lot, but, you know, if somebody comes into the office and we think, you know, we're not sure if we can work with you, then we won't work with them. So we're quite selective with who comes onto our books.
Yeah, I did actually have this problem because a while back I thought, oh, you know what, maybe I should just give up, pay the money and get an agency to actually do the homework.
Yes, yeah.
But they said to me, well, first of all, you're over 50 and secondly, you're a journalist and that's going to put an awful lot of people off.
Oh, no, I'd say you're perfect.
Really?
You're brilliant, yeah.
Well,
No.
When I was speaking to Karen, the founder of the agency, who's
she
been to
founded
so
Sarah
many
Eden.
weddings,
Yeah.
she's got a wardrobe full of hats.
Yeah.
And she said, I won't pretend you are going to be difficult because of your background, not the marriages. The fact that there would be some gentleman who wouldn't want any press. I mean, I'm way past that. I'm quite sure now if I was seen out, as I was last night, with a very good-looking, one of my lovely, lovely gay friends, but nobody bothers. And I went to a first night with him. But she's very aware. And she said, you know, it would have to be somebody who is aware of the media and would not object. And actually, the two that she's flagged up, both have had media experience.
Ah.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
why we thought that you would probably get on quite well with them because similar life experiences.
Yeah.
Both really bubbly, both hilarious. So we just thought they'd have loads in common. Lively.
Yeah, I'm going to go hat and shoe looking anyway, Jan. Even if it's just so that we go to dinner. So roughly, I mean, how many people over 50 come to you? Is it mainly older people?
Yeah, mainly. So most of the men and women that we have are in their 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. You know, we're matching people in their 80s on a daily basis.
You know, 80.
And I think what you're saying is what's so good about meeting people through an agency or through the apps is you're going to come into contact with people that you would just never, because of where you live. Maybe you don't live that near each other, or
Well, that's
could
it.
be hours away.
Yeah.
But then you meet someone that you really connect with, and then you make the effort. You travel to see them because you really like them.
I mean, is that an issue for you? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would travel more than an hour and a half.
Fair enough. Yes.
It's just because it's not going to work. I mean, I spoke to a really nice guy from Glasgow and he kept saying, I'll come down. And I said, but I'll have to come up. No, it's not
Well,
happening.
do you know? Can I tell you a story about two people that we have on our books?
Yes.
So the lady was from North London and the man was from North Yorkshire.
Oh,
And they
that's
met.
a distance.
And they're getting married. They're planning their wedding now. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's like 5 hours
You know,
to
honestly,
travel.
Siobhan,
But-
I think if it was somebody who really attracted you enough, you would.
Yeah.
I mean, the two...
Omar Sharif.
Oh, well.
Do you want to remind everyone about that story?
Well, it was too young. I mean, that was...
Do you know who Omar Sharif is?
No, but I was just laughing to sort of, you know,
To fit in.
to fit in. Yeah.
Look him up. So I was working on a programme which you wouldn't even have been a twinkle in
what was
your...
the programme?
It was called Pebble Mill at 1.
Yeah.
And a lovely, lovely man called Donnie MacLeod always got the personality interviews, but he was fog-bound in Aberdeen. I was waiting to interview Jim Dale, that's another name you won't know, and the researcher came up, she said, Jan, she said, Donnie can't get down. Would you mind interviewing Omar Sharif? She hadn't even got the name out. Shoo! So we'd done the little interview, and then they were checking, and they knew I had the hots for him. And
Everybody, the whole world had the hots for him.
and
did
that
they?
voice.
Okay.
Oh, he
So-
was just beautiful. He was. What were the two main films he was in? He was in Lawrence of
Lawrence
Arabia.
of Arabia.
And then
With
Dr. Zhivago.
Oh.
Dr. Zhivago, look him up.
Okay.
Seriously.
So, it was very hard work in those days, and I knew they wouldn't video the whole thing. But afterwards they gave me, and while they were checking it, he said, Jan, are you married? And I said, no, I'm divorced. He said, oh, why? And I said, well, I always choose the wrong men. They're womanizers. And he was. So he laughed. And because I'd pre-recorded, which was going up the next day, they gave me the next day off. So I went from Birmingham to Bristol, where I lived. When I got back on the Friday, the researcher said, oh, Omar Sharif phoned up yesterday to talk to you.
Oh.
And I wasn't there. And Siobhan said, but you should have phoned him. You should have.
Why did you not ring back?
That was going to be my
Well,
question.
Actually, I was
I'm still traumatised, never mind you.
I was much less sure of myself. I think as you get older, you become more free. But I have openly to admit that if we had gone on a date, I would have.
I mean,
I would have.
I mean, honestly, if he'd have phoned my office, I would have called him back. That is for sure.
But many years later, I was going down to Barcelona to a conference, and we decided instead of flying down, I can't remember now, but we took the train and we stopped in Perpignan, and we went to Port Collioure, which is on the Mediterranean. And that's right, one person wanted to buy some property, and the property agents were Irish. And they took us to Port Collioure and said, oh, you know, there's a lovely restaurant, you must have lunch there. And we got to this restaurant and it said, fermez les vacances, closed for the holidays. So we went into the square, we were just about to sit down, and this runner came round, you know, would you mind? And they were filming, me being me. I said, oh, what do you... Omar Sharif. I said, oh, I interviewed him about 20 years ago. And he said, would you like to meet him again? I said, is the Pope a Catholic? Yes, please. And it was interesting because obviously he didn't remember me. But for those 2 minutes, it was as if I was the only woman in his life. And I have a picture framed. I don't have a mantelpiece.
From that day?
Yes.
And did you say to him at the time, do you remember that we met?
I didn't. I said, I'm sure you won't remember, but I interviewed you on Pebble. I just, you know. But he was absolutely lovely, and sadly, he died a few years later. Dementia. That wonderful mind. He was a chess master.
He was a bit of a gambler and a drinker as well, though, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah,
but he only married once. He married an Egyptian actress, and he changed his religion for her. And never ever married again, but had some wonderful women in his life. Oh, he was...
Look him up, and if you've got any lookalikes on your books, I'm available.
Okay,
I will find the feed.
Okay.
Oh, she wants him as one of her 5.
Okay, but you can both, you know, have an introduction with him, see how it goes.
I think he'd go for Siobhan. I mean, she's donkey's years younger than I am.
I think you're both gorgeous. So
I'm really not, Jan.
Oh, so are you.
This is the moment where we play this game that Tim invented. It's called the Fishbowl of Truth.
Just wanna get out of here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Read it out.
Okay,
Read it out.
okay.
We'll all answer.
Do you have an addictive personality? And what was my autobiography called? Addicted to Love.
Well, there you go.
Actually, I'm probably addicted to the wrong men, but I'm not addicted to anything else. I mean, I'm not addictive to drugs. I'm very much a free spirit, but I do tend to go for the same kind of man. And I read a book on addiction, and we do, men and women. I mean, a woman who's attracted to an alcoholic will try and cure him and then blame herself when she can't. And there is, but no, I would say I don't have an addictive personality, but I'm an idiot when it comes to men.
Okay. I think I do.
Do you?
Yeah. I think I do everything to extremes. If I'm drinking, then I'm drinking. And I've never, ever touched drugs because I worry that I would like them. Like if I did, I think everything that I never cigarettes for the same reason.
Yeah.
And when I do something, even if it's just swimming, then I'm doing it every day. Until, every day.
Well, I'm definitely not addictive because I like a glass of wine. And for years, glass of wine with my lonely supper. And because I have a slight digestive problem, a nutritionist said, be better if you didn't drink. And I thought, oh my goodness, giving up that one, it was easy. I only drink if I'm in company. And I don't miss it. And I save the money.
Yeah.
And it's 250 calories a glass. So, you know.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done.
And I've never taken drugs. They weren't around when I was young. They just weren't. I mean, the biggest drug was probably cigarettes. And,
Yeah, I was gonna
pot?
say,
Never.
yeah.
No.
No, but that was around.
Yeah, but I I don't know, maybe all my friends were pure. No, never.
Or they were doing it and not
I
saying.
didn't smoke.
Yeah.
I didn't smoke.
No. So, Rebecca, what's
Yes.
your question?
I've got, why did your last relationship end? That's I would say we were just very different. There were quite a few red flags that were sort of cropping up, and I think that's why it ended. Well, I ended it because I just thought I can't be with somebody like this.
What
Not to
were
go
the
into
red
too much
flags?
detail. Just particular views on certain things that I thought weren't good at all. So that's why I sort
But
of
can
cut it
you
off.
not agree to differ?
We know we did, but sometimes
It
views can be a
got-
bit extreme, and
right.
it's not healthy and not right. So that's why it ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jan?
Well, I'm a lot more sure of myself now than I was when I was young. And I've very, very rarely ever ended a relationship. I've always hung on thinking, if I do this, if I do that. But not now. Now I wouldn't hang on. I would, if I were in a relationship and it wasn't working, But I always felt very insecure. So it had to be me. It had to be me that was wrong. Maybe that's because of my upbringing, my parents separating when I was very young, being brought up for many years by my father, whom I adored. Very insecure.
Yeah, I guess I'm probably quite similar to you. I do, yeah? No?
You
really?
seem so...
I do stay in relationships way longer than I should.
Yes.
And ultimately, I mean, I do a bit of that. It must be my fault. It must be me.
Yes.
Kind
And it
of
isn't
behaviour.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, really.
I think maybe like as women, maybe we've been conditioned to always think that we've done something
Possibly,
wrong. Maybe something in that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the love of my life was a womanizer, very much
I thought you were going to say it was a woman.
Yeah,
No, definitely not. But he made the excuse. I mean, this woman had been in his life for quite a long time. And he said, it was money worries and the children that drove us apart. 7 years later, like an idiot, I allowed him back into my life. By then, he was in the driving seat financially. The children were grown up.
Yeah.
Still the same problems. But I had blamed myself. He sent me a 17-page letter of what was wrong with me.
17 pages back and
17
front. You don't know,
17
from Friends. Do you remember Ross shouting that?
Oh!
When Jennifer Aniston wrote him a letter, he went, it went on for 16 pages, back and front.
I think it was only one-sided, but I kept it for years, and then I finally
kept
burnt
it?
them. Yeah, because I kept thinking, this is where I go wrong. But no, it isn't. It isn't all me. It isn't all me.
Of course it's not you.
Of course it isn't you. You probably could have then written a 50-page letter about everything that was wrong with him.
Yes, but in my eyes, he was perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever dated a perfect person.
No one's perfect. But no, he sounds, that's horrible for somebody to
And
write.
yet, despite that, 12 years, and now with a lot of distance, and he's dead too, I just think of, thank God, I just think of the good bits.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the experience.
Yeah.
We didn't have much money, but he was adventurous. We had very interesting holidays, in places with sort of corrugated iron roofs and the birds doing what they do, sort of on the pillows. But it was fun.
So, Miss Leeming, I think we're going to leave this now. But
Yes,
I would like
sure.
to say, will you come back on in a few months? Because I want to know part 3 of this story.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, and I will be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
But don't buy a hat.
Yeah, I'm coming up.
On the next episode of Suddenly Single, we have the performer, actress, advocate and dog lover, Debbie Arnold.
Coming up.